Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse. I'm Ben. As always, I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
Claire.
Hey.
And Pete.
Pete,
I'm just going to say hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Excellent. Right, well, today we are going to talk about mass hysteria. Hopefully we can make it mass hysterical.
Maybe.
Ooh.
Before we start,
I hope it's funnier than that.
before we start,
That was the joke.
before we start, I do think we should give an RIP to Dame Edna Everage.
The Australian drag artist.
Yeah, what's his actual name?
You mean his name isn't, you didn't change it by
I
default?
forgot to think what his actual name was, because his name wasn't Dame Edna Everage, obviously.
Well, that's a shame. This doesn't give me a bit of a Mandela effect because I already thought he was dead.
Barry Humphries.
I genuinely thought he was an Australian guy, isn't he?
Yeah, 89, so good innings. But yeah, 89, he died this morning, Saturday.
Oh well, there we go.
Bless him.
R.I.P.D. and other drag artists. All the drag artists are dying. Billy Savage, Dame Edna Everage, RuPaul to be next, perhaps.
RuPaul, watch out.
Who knows? That's not a threat, by the way,
No,
RuPaul, in case you're
definitely
listening.
not. Definitely
Just, you know, we've got nothing against whatever you do. I don't know. I've never watched the show.
I have. I've been forced to by Claire
Right.
a few times.
Either way, let's thank some of the returning listeners, and we'll crack on with the main cut. So we're going to go through some of the historical examples of mass hysteria, as long as what the definition of what it is. A friend of the show turns up tonight in one of these articles, by the way. Ooh. A friend of the show. Hastings in the UK, thanks for listening. Clacton-on-Sea, London in the UK, Hammerville in Luxembourg, Strasbourg in France. We got a French listener.
Blimmin' heck.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bring, Texas, Luton in the UK, Boardman, Oregon, Haiti in Missouri, Emma.
Yeah.
Porvoo in Finland, hello. Flushing in New York, Frankfurt am Main in Germany, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Bengaluru, India, Ashburn, Virginia, Guadalajara, Spain, Dublin, Ireland, and Brussels, Belgium.
Wowzer.
Belgium.
We're big in Belgium. You're top. Thank you very much.
Binging Belgium.
That's what we like to see.
I'm impressed. I don't like bingers. Spread the word, please. Follow us on Facebook at Cutting to the Bull in the Post-Truth Apocalypse, YouTube at Apocalypse Bull, and SoundCloud and other podcasting platforms as Cutting Through the Bull in the PTA.
And please feel free to interact with us, because you will always get a reply from one of us.
Usually me,
Usually Ben.
which means it'll be weird.
Normally, yes.
Yeah.
They're a bit stalky.
Stalky, look at stalk them, Mike.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
No, you were knocking on people's doors today, so.
Yeah.
I wasn't
That's
knocking on, I didn't just knock on people's doors.
He got up at 6 o'clock this morning, went and took his dog out for a walk, and started knocking on people's doors.
I woke up at 6 in the morning because I snapped awake at 6 because I wake up at that time every day of the week, apart from Sundays, because I'm too drunk on Saturdays. I sleep. And I got up and I did a bit of canvassing. I walked the dog around the area where I'm standing for re-election, and spoke to a few people.
Took some snappy photos as well. Some snappy photos.
Yeah,
I didn't even mean that one.
Took some photos just to say, hey, I'm here. Come and interact.
Max looked fine.
Max looks great. He was very happy.
He looked wonderful. He sat in was it the graveyard? With
Yes.
Looking very majestic he was.
He was. It was his birthday this week as well. Happy birthday to Maximus. 7. So yes, mass hysteria. Enough of my campaigning. Enough of defending my character against you slanderous curs. Mass hysteria isn't just a panic, it's people affected by mass hysteria typically believe something that has triggered their symptoms, because it is a mass psychogenic illness. It refers to an outbreak of unusual, uncharacteristic behaviours, thoughts and feelings or health symptoms shared among a group of people. So it could trigger their symptoms, It doesn't have an underlying health condition that can prompt those. They don't have an underlying health condition that can prompt the symptoms. They wouldn't behave in that way on a regular basis, and many share an extreme fear of an exaggerated or non-existent threat.
It's all to do with power of suggestion, isn't it? That like the mind it plays tricks on your body, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can become ill just by believing you might be ill, and people can physically be sick and get proper ill.
Sounds
because
like COVID, allegedly.
Will be taken off. Say allegedly.
I said allegedly.
Sounds like Q.
Well, I'm going to give QAnon an honourable mention on this list as well. I haven't got an article because we did an article on QAnon. There is some overlaps. We did an episode on QAnon. And I know enough about QAnon to talk about that, but you'd be surprised the amount of shit I've sucked up into my brain doing this podcast for so many years. Would drive a lesser man insane. So, alright, let's move on to it. This is mass hysteria. It affects a large group of people. I'm including this one as a bit of an honourable mention. It's called A Folie à Deux. It's also the subtitle of the second Joker movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. That is The Folly of Two. So that's two people sharing a hallucination. It does go up. You can have folie à trois, folie à quatre, folie à cinq. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're folie à quatre.
Yeah, you can have a folie à quatre.
That's what we are. Madness of 4.
Yeah. Just to throw that out there, that was first contextualised in the 19th century, so... But mass hysteria goes back a long way, with recorded cases anyway. 13th century, I think, is the earliest recorded. Probably go on earlier.
I heard the Black Plague was all mass hysteria.
Oh, did you?
I'm joking. Oh, God.
There's the Phantom. Oh, yeah.
Is it been long enough? Are we allowed to joke about it now?
What, 400 years?
I think it's been long enough.
South Park says it's 20, so we always go to South Park.
South Park rule. Sweet.
We've got a lot of examples of mass hysterias through history. Some of them tragic, some of them funny, most of them weird, all of them weird. For 2 weeks in 1956, people who lived near Taipei, Taiwan, were terrified of a mysterious slasher roaming the streets. The fiendish character would surreptitiously slice people as he slipped through crowds or brushed past them. About 24 folks, most of whom were poor women and children, reported being slashed, similar to the Boston butt slasher.
The butt slasher?
Yeah, that was a real thing. This guy would go and he'd like run a knife up between your butt cheeks.
Ooh. Terrible.
Ooh, I can almost feel that. Oh, that wouldn't be nice, would it?
Certainly wouldn't.
But then something stranger happened. After police spoke with the victims, it became clear there was no mass slasher. Spurred on by hysterical news reports, people thought that regular minor cuts on their bodies were the work of a crazed killer. In one case, the slash was an old injury in which the person had scratched and reopened.
Okay.
Such mass hysterias or collective delusions are actually quite common. They happen often in places where small tight-knit groups of people are gathered together and may be under stress, like schools, convents and factories. Young women are the most likely victims. That's it's interesting.
Didn't the old doctors used to...
But then again, they would... Are we skewed by historical average? Because every time like a woman was a bit outspoken or a bit sort of racy in her mannerisms...
Hysteria.
It's like, no, she's got hysteria, lock her in a convent. The hussy.
Yeah.
In medical terms, mass hysteria occurs when people become afflicted with conversion disorder, also called functional neurological symptom disorder. When this happens, a bad scare or stress, something mental or emotional, transforms into a medical issue. And there are 2 types of conversion disorders: anxiety hysteria and motor hysteria. In the former, people develop symptoms such as headache, dizziness and nausea, typically after perceiving something threatening, such as a foul odour or unusual stain. Hundreds of these cases occur annually in the US.
I felt threatened by your foul odour earlier.
Yeah, when I got here to watch the football, I was farting quite a lot.
Yeah, definitely had all of those symptoms then. The nausea, headaches.
Weirdly, a similar thing, like the foul odours and unusual stains, even in the Black Plague, people would like get freaked out by like things that have been daubed on their door, maybe like a bit of, who knows, something. They thought there was a group of people going round spreading the plague by daubing sort of a paste on your door.
Alright.
Or leaving it on benches and things like that.
Oh.
So even then there was crazy. We've always been crazy as a species.
Yeah.
Social media's just sort of hyped it up.
It highlighted it all as well.
Yeah, that's the problem. Now the crazier you are, the more exposure you get on TikTok.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And
Whatever
the
choice
news,
platform, other platforms are available. Motor hysteria involves everything from twitching and stuttering to catatonic states and melodramatic outbursts. This is rarer and is often found in restrictive social settings such as discipline-heavy boarding schools or prisons. So let's have a look at the stranger ones. The meowing and biting nuns. Also barking nuns was barking nuns too.
I've heard of barking nuns before, but never meowing nuns.
You know, when I was a kid, my nan told me that nuns stole children.
Interesting.
Nice of her. Your nan seemed like a lovely lady.
She was, genuinely.
But don't put the meowing nuns with the barking nuns because they'll fight like cats and dogs.
Hey.
Very true. Yeah. During the Middle Ages, many nuns were forced into convents by their parents and often stressed by a lifestyle not of their choosing. For example, let's face it, celibacy, poverty, hard manual labour. No one chooses to go into that, do they?
Why did they force them into it then?
A couple of reasons. They might be a bit mad in the first place, and the convents seen as they'll pray, through prayer and celibacy and manual labour, you'll rid yourself of your mental demons. You're too old to be married off. There's another one. You hit 35 in the Middle Ages, and you're not married, into the convent. You're a spinster now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Be glad you're not alive then, Claire.
yeah.
No, you'd have been alright. You were married before 35. You'd have been alright.
Well done. In the first case, a nun in a large French convent began meowing one day. Soon others joined in, and eventually every nun in the convent was meowing.
Now, are they talking about the physical sound meow, or are they all snorting white lines of some crazy drug?
Well, ketamine or something like that.
Yeah, 'cause they call that meow, don't
Did they have
they?
ketamine in the 15th century?
Isn't the meow meow? Wasn't that the meow meow was a similar thing to ketamine, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Meow, yeah. Basically, ketamine, fucking horse tranquilizer. Nasty shit, man.
I don't know if they've had horse tranquilizer in the 15th century. Ergot poisoning, maybe. But ergot poisoning doesn't last for as long as these cases do, which is usually one of the things a lot of people write
Well,
off
it does
with.
if you keep consuming it.
So they weren't snorting a drug then, they were making the noise.
Also, when you do have ergot poisoning, you do a lot of vomiting and shitting. Your body's got to expel it, hasn't it?
Didn't someone just ask her what she's playing at?
Why, love? Why do you think you're a cat all of a sudden?
Meow.
The noise became structured. All of the nuns would meow together for several hours at the same time every day. The neighbours could hear the collective caterwauling. Wait, how'd you say that? Caterwailing, caterwauling. Loads of cats meowing. You know what it's like when they're outside your front, outside your house at some point in the middle of the night and they wanted to fuck or fight. That's it. Yeah, we don't need a full thing of it. It's annoying to listen to. You want to throw something at the fuckers, don't you? Let's face it.
Very much so.
They became understandably annoyed. In an age where you could own a longbow or a sword, that could be more concerning than it is nowadays, couldn't it?
Well, I'm glad the neighbours went and asked what the fuck was going on.
Well, they only quietened down after being threatened with a beating by soldiers.
In one case of the barking nuns, they were flogged and spanked by soldiers.
Oh, spanked?
To stop you. Spanked was the word you heard to describe that. So the nuns were spanked and flogged by soldiers to get them to shut up.
Oh, the olden days were fun times.
Yeah. Next door in Germany in the 15th century, a nun began biting the other sisters in their convent. And it wasn't too long before all the nuns were biting one another.
Well, I'm not surprised. One bites it, and you're like, oi, bitch, fucking bite you back. Ow! And then because they're all wearing the same kind of habit in that, it kind of accidentally bit the wrong nut, and then she bit the wrong nut, and then it all went round, and they were all biting each other, and that was it.
Could this be the first case of a zombie outbreak?
Well, maybe because it spread to other convents to a large portion of Germany, mostly in Saxony and Brandenburg.
Sounds like a zombie outbreak.
Didn't stop there. Convents in Holland and even Rome were affected.
Yep, zombies. Zombie
Nuns.
nuns. Zombie
The nuns only stopped biting because of exhaustion.
Yeah, exhaustion, i.e. had their heads cut off.
Because that's the only way to kill
Because
a
that's
zombie.
the historical cover-up.
It's the only way to kill a zombie.
Exactly. In them
Remove
days,
its head.
remove their head or destroy the brain.
Wow. So that is the first known case of zombies and zombie nuns. You heard it here first, people.
Yep.
Or it's mass hysteria.
Yeah. I was going to give it an allegedly at the end of that. But yeah.
Who's to say there hasn't been zombie outbreaks in history that have been put down and kept in secret?
You never know. Well, this next one, eh? Look.
The dancing plague.
Dancing plague. Oof.
Despite the July heat in 1518, Frau Trophea began silently dancing in the streets of Strasbourg, France. She kept up her bizarre dance marathon for nearly a week, when suddenly other citizens began joining her. Soon the streets were filled with 36 dancers, and by August, an astounding 400 were shimmying and shaking non-stop all over the city. And to be fair, people were dying as they were doing this. It's July and August in France.
Yeah.
You're getting people in a heat stroke, they're dying, but people are still joining in. They're not stopping to drink water, or not enough water anyway.
They're just dancing to death.
What's...
The city's response is fucking legendary, because they tried to help, so they constructed a dance stage and brought in a band and professional dancers.
That's just
So
going to
everyone's
exaggerate the
dancing
problem.
together, the city's like playing music 24/7. And so they're dying because they're dying of exhaustion and heat. It didn't end until the dancers were forcibly removed from the streets, i.e. they were taken to a shrine to pray.
Well, what caused it?
What could it? Possibly stress. Let's face it, it's 13th century France. Disease and famine are sweeping through Strasbourg. Many people are reduced to begging. And then you've got the whole, everyone's an uber Catholic at this point.
16th century France.
Yeah? 16th century? Whatever. What's a century between friends?
What's 300 years? Oh.
100 years.
You said 13th.
Ah, sorry. Anyway, it's medieval France.
Yeah, either way. Shit place to be, really. So yeah, why not have a bit of fun and dance?
You know, well, a common belief amongst Catholics was St. Vitus, who's the saint of dancing, I shit you not, he would curse you with a dancing plague, so maybe they thought, oh my god, Strasbourg's been cursed. We've got war, we've got famine, we've got disease, and now we've got dancers. It'd be like Tobey Maguire dancing badly down the street in Spider-Man 3 when he gets infected by the venom thing.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
Oh, let's have some more religious mass hysteria. The Salem witch trials, 1692 to 1693. It all began when young Betty Paris and Abigail Williams began screaming uncontrollably and flailing about. A doctor declared the two residents of Massachusetts' rural Salem village bewitched. That's very... I'd love to know the Hippocratic Oath he swore.
Yeah. It's very scientific, isn't it?
Very scientific. This is what happens when you have a bunch of people who are religious extremists founding a country.
Yeah.
Well, it happened here as well, didn't it? Happened all over Europe, to be fair.
Well, there is that. We'll do the British witch trials one episode, I think. We'll get into that. Matthew Hopkins and the Witchfinder General. Interestingly, he's actually old enough to have been here, and there's some evidence to suggest he did flee to America. There's a little conspiracy theory for you. So, soon, several other young girls came down with similar symptoms, putting the blame on 3 villagers, all women, as the ones who had bewitched them. The women were brought to trial. 2 denied the accusations, but 1, a Caribbean slave named Tituba, confessed to bewitching the girls and offered to name other witches likely a ploy to save herself from execution, which it did.
That's it. Someone points a finger at you, put your finger at someone else.
Absolutely. Interesting they took the slaves thing, though. The slaves' word. Then again, I suppose she could have been said she was doing some kind of voodoo. Who knows? They were Puritans for a reason, weren't they? They were uber religious.
I know she actually confessed to bewitching them.
Yeah, but then she said, I'll name other witches if you don't kill me.
Yeah.
As more people were swept up in the accusations, some confessed and pointed the finger at even more people. Hysteria flooded the village and spilled over into the rest of Massachusetts. 5 months after Paris and Williams first suffered fits, the courts were clogged with witchcraft cases. What's up today, Judge? What's on the docket today? Oh, another 5 witchcraft cases.
It's just people just writing on their neighbours who just piss them off, innit?
Yeah.
Ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah. The mayhem finally died down about a year later after several respected citizens began pushing for solid evidence to be presented to the witchcraft trials as opposed to relying on dreams and visions, which I suppose makes sense.
Fucking hell.
But by the time the trials were stopped, 19 had been hanged, 7 died in jail awaiting execution, and 1 man had been pressed to death by stones. That's not fun.
I thought it was mostly women.
It was, I assume that was that one bloke who probably tried to save himself. Maybe he was the only gay in the village.
He might have been one of the husbands of one of the witches.
He's being interrogated because you pressed them to interrogate them, not execute them.
Yeah.
So he probably died during interrogation. Enhanced interrogation.
Thank you for finishing my sentence, basically. But yeah, cheers.
It's alright, that's what I do. In all, 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft.
Poor buggers.
Yep.
Halifax slasher, 1938.
Over to England.
Over to England, Halifax.
Yes, the original Halifax, not the one in America.
Canada.
Canada, sorry.
For nearly 2 weeks in November 1938, residents living in Halifax, England, were terrorised by a man racing around in the dark, slashing women with a knife or razor. The panic began on November 16th when 2 women arrived at a local police station, both with head wounds that appeared to have been caused by some kind of blade. They'd been attacked by a man, they told police. 5 days later, a 3rd woman ran to the police with a deep razor-like cut in her wrist. In both cases, no evidence was found at the crime scenes, police were stumped, and citizens became concerned. Over the next week, more people were mysteriously attacked or suffering some type of cut, and by now the public was referring to the attacker as the Halifax slasher. And of course everyone's like, don't you go out at night, the Halifax slasher's about.
So keep the kids in.
Keep the kids in. Start coming home before dark falls.
Yeah.
You know, the police said there could be up to 3 different men attacking these victims. Businesses shuttered their windows, vigilante groups formed, sometimes attacking men who appeared suspicious or out of place.
Jesus.
Law enforcement officials put in a call to Scotland Yard for help, and 2 detectives arrived on November 29th. As the investigators began questioning the victims, however, their stories collapsed. Suddenly everyone began confessing that they'd accidentally cut or injured themselves. One woman said she'd fought with her boyfriend and upset sliced her arm because she'd heard about the Halifax slasher. After 9 of the 12 victims confessed to self-harm, police closed the investigation. The 9 were all criminally charged before going to jail. So 3 of them have still been attacked by someone random, though.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Potentially. It's lazy.
And that could have well been those first 3.
Could have been.
And then the rest of them were all kind of copycat. Oh, let's jump on this bandwagon for a bit of sympathy.
But for the police to go, yeah, there could be at least 3 men out there slashing women up. It's playing on public fears. They've really got well, I suppose the police are a bit helpless, really, aren't they, in that scenario? If you've got women turning up saying they've been attacked.
You got to look into it, haven't you? Of course you have.
Absolutely. The Tanganyika laughter epidemic in 1962.
We've covered this before as well.
Yes, at a small girls' boarding school in Tanganyika, now Tanzania.
Tanzania, I think it is.
Tanzania.
Is it?
Tanzania.
Yeah.
I said Tanzania.
He said Tanzania, didn't he?
Did I? Yeah. Oh, I left Tanzania, sorry.
You should have left it because that was quite amusing. Tanzania. I want to live there. It sounds quite cool.
Sounds like a 1990s wrestler.
What's his gimmick? He's got an all over tan.
Tanzania. Nice. I'm picturing him like an Ultimate Warrior rip-off in all fairness. Like he's a bit crazy.
But a bit zanier.
Yeah.
With a really good tan.
I'm zany, I am.
Maybe like a zany Hulk Hogan or something.
I don't know, man. I never knew I could pull that. No one's Hulk if I'm the Hulk.
Maybe Hulk Hogan was Tanzania.
I don't know. Well, there's been some characters, let's face it.
Anyway, Tanzania.
They started starting and stopping abruptly giggling. Their fits would last anywhere from a minute or two to several hours. This laughter proved contagious, and soon other girls were doing the same thing. No one could concentrate on the schoolwork, and restraining them proved ineffective. 6 weeks later, more than half the school's middle and high schoolers had caught the laughing bug. School officials shut the place down, but when they reopened it 2 months later, the laughing plague immediately restarted, so they shut the school up again.
The kids had obviously clocked on.
Yeah.
Hey, if we all just laugh again, right, they'll let us go home.
Yeah,
Right.
because it spreads to other schools anywhere about it and go, oh, if we still start laughing. So this lasted between 6 and 18 months.
But laughter is contagious anyway.
Yeah.
So all it took was 2 little girls having a bit of a laughing fit because of something silly, and then that could genuinely have caught on.
Yep.
And then they cottoned on that it was quite funny to do that because it was getting a reaction from the teachers and things like that.
Yeah.
So they just thought, we're getting away with not doing any work.
That's it, yeah.
We just laugh. And then they got sent home from school for 2 fucking months.
No one laughed uncontrollably at any point.
No. They all fucking played and did what they want, built dens and hunted for lions and shit like that. And
You made your stereotyping a little bit there with the hunting for lions. No one's hunting. The kids aren't hunting
I
lions.
know.
Teenage girls aren't hunting lions. They haven't all got metal bars in their pockets.
But no, and then they get sent back to school. Ah, fuck, school's
That's
well
it.
shit. Should we just get some more time off again? Yeah. Done.
So I qualified to Pete for that reference that Pete always recommends putting a metal bar in any animal's mouth that's meant to attack you. That's why you should carry one.
Yeah.
Although students did have fits of pain, fainting, crying and rashes.
Well,
Probably been laughing too much.
Yeah.
as you know, laughing can make
Laughing?
you...
What?
Laughing can make you faint.
Sometimes. Although, to be fair, he blamed excessive stress for the uncontrollable giggles. The boarding school where the laughter began was a very strict one, plus the country had just gained its independence and people were anxious about the future. I'll skip through this one because I want to do an episode on this one day. Daycare ritual abuse cases. This is the start of the satanic panic in America, which is still kind of going on today in some circles.
Well, maybe there is something to it.
Not to the scale.
Not to the scale, but no smoke without fire.
That may be the way the British system works, Mike, but not the American one.
They need to at least say what you're talking about.
It's a daycare
Oh, did you?
ritual
Sorry.
case. It's the start of the satanic panic.
We sort of covered it in our Satanism episode.
Yeah,
but that
we
was
did, but I
episode
wanna do it-
6, and that was
That was it was episode 6.
260 episodes ago.
Yeah. When do we get to episode 666? Have we done that yet?
Of course not.
I don't know how far we are in.
260.
280.
Oh,
something.
sorry. Just saying that.
His maths is so shit in it. I said 260
I didn't hear you
episodes
say
ago.
260 something episodes ago. Sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
Fuck it now.
What's your name again? Sorry, who are you? Where am I?
I didn't hear you say it. It all began with a mother who was mentally unstable accused Ray Buckley, a worker at the McMartin preschool near Los Angeles, of raping her child, which is, let's face it, is a pretty big accusation to make.
Yeah.
Although police were initially sceptical, in an abundance of caution, they sent letters home to the parents of other children at the daycare centre, asking them to question their children about acts like sodomy and oral sex.
Okay.
As parents talked to their kids and to each other, more accusations followed. Bucky's mother, Peggy McMartin, who owned the school, and other teachers were eventually charged with 208 counts of child molestation.
Jesus.
As time went on and social workers were brought in to get more information out of the young children, the accusations got wilder. In addition to being raped and sodomised, the children said they'd participated in satanic rituals, been forced to drink blood, and had witnessed a baby being sacrificed in a satanic church. The ensuing trial lasted several years, but none of the defendants were ever found guilty of anything.
So they're making it up.
It's making the kids.
Or the judge was a Satanist.
Or it's a cover-up.
Well, that's the thing, is with the way the conspiracy goes, and the way they explain it all as to why it's been covered up, is exactly what Mike said. The judge is a Satanist. The coroners are Satanists. Satanists are everywhere. If someone doesn't go to church, they're a Satanist. They're involved in it all. That's the way the conspiracy goes. And it's still going on.
Yeah, but it could be true, couldn't it? I mean, I'm not saying it is. It could be.
Well, I haven't been approached to be a Satanist yet.
We know that paedophiles cover for each other.
I don't know, weren't you approached by, what do you call it, with the rings?
The Freemasons.
Freemasons.
Oh yeah, I had that spam email through, didn't I?
Yeah, you were approached by them, so there you go. I mean, not necessarily.
Wasn't it a spam email? Who knows? Spam message on Facebook?
You never know, do you? It might have been as soon as they realise you counsel a Ben. Right, get him into the secret club.
Oh, who knows?
Get
They
him drinking
wouldn't
that
guarantee
blood.
me a cloak. Remember?
Yeah,
You get a cloak and a mask.
disappointing.
They wouldn't guarantee me a cloak.
Bastards.
During the years that Martin trial was going on, and even after similar allegations were levelled against daycare centres and their employees in 46 states, at the Little Rascals Daycare Centre in North Carolina, for instance, defenders were accused of sexual abuse as well as a host of other actions, including spaceships, hot air balloons and pirate ships.
Yeah, methinks that's the kids' imagination a bit there.
Many people were found guilty only to be released later when their convictions were overturned.
Guilty of being a pirate?
Abducting children onto your satanic pirate ship, hot air balloon, or spaceship.
Well, that sounds like they could have abducted them, tried to befriend them by taking them somewhere like Disneyland or something like that, and they went on Space Mountain so obviously
They just got abused on Space Mountain.
Not dark, you know, and they were a pirate ship as well, and
On the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
maybe not back then, but there'd have always been a swinging pirate ship, wouldn't there?
Either way, it went on to be fucking mental.
Yeah, we do need to do an episode on that, I think, definitely.
The West Bank fainting epidemic of 1983.
Oh, the baby.
I was born.
I'd just been born here, spring of 1983. Nearly 1,000 young Arabs in the West Bank suddenly became ill with a mysterious ailment characterised by symptoms like headache, dizziness, blurred vision, abdominal pain, weakness and fainting. 70% of the patients were schoolgirls 12 to 17. While some of the early victims said they had smelled a strange odour reminiscent of rotten eggs in their classroom before falling ill, Palestinian leaders accused the Israelis of using chemical warfare to drive away the Arabs.
I was just thinking, was it chemical warfare or some sort of, test subjects, unknowingly,
Yeah, some claimed it was to sterilise the Arab females.
Yeah, of course the Israelis said, well,
surprise me.
it's you lot using chemicals on your own people to stir up trouble and blame us. It's interesting that both sides attacked one another there. Makes you think there actually might have been some kind of...
But as it was only girls, there is a good chance that it could have been that kind of attempt of sterilisation of some form by using some kind of chemical to...
Well, I know what you're saying. When
You never know, do you?
Allegedly.
Allegedly,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can say.
It's just a...
Yeah,
Darker things have happened,
Yeah, definitely.
you know.
sadly.
It's a possibility, isn't it, that kind of shit could have gone
But
on.
you also have to remember that mass hysteria does affect girls of this age range a lot more. A lot more. It's a bit different, but Beatlemania. Who was in that? Was this mass hysteria? Or girls passing out and screaming,
Yeah.
just screaming over and over again. Wasn't many lads in that crowd, was there?
What about the chances of lunar cycles and things like that? So in the sense that there can be certain lunar cycles, I believe, that can make women's cycles quite weird or like different. And
I don't know, Pete.
Is that correct? I'm looking at the.
Don't mansplain to Claire about
I'm
periods,
asking
Pete.
the one woman here, like if there's any truth in that.
Yeah, I've woke up as a werewolf quite a few times.
No, like there's different things that like different times.
Come on, Claire.
and-
Is there anything to it? Do you? I mean, isn't the room? Is there? I don't know.
I don't think there's any scientific evidence.
As a teenager, when all these hormones are racing.
Not so much that. You know how like when women are together, they go on the cycle together and things
I don't know
like
if
that.
there's any truth to that.
There is,
So
yeah, there is.
all the girls, they're all 12 to 17-year-old girls. If they all just got really bad menstrual cycle at the same time somehow for some weird reason. That's why I was asking about like is there some weird thing with the lunar cycle? Like there's a certain time where an atmosphere is at a certain point where if you
It's hot as well. You know, it's fucking hot.
I think it's just men just trying to
single out the women.
single out
Oh,
the
look at the crazy women all
crazy
fainting.
women, if they're all crazy, you can't let them, have these equal rights and all that like back in the day, and anything to put us down a bit.
I was wondering.
There's the voice of the feminazi. I want a matriarchal society.
All I'm thinking is the
Castrate the men.
the symptoms that they all had.
What was that?
That's my eyebrows. That's my eyebrow signal.
But the symptoms they all had are symptoms that women get around that time of the month, and
I don't know.
it all affected
We're on dangerous
women.
ground of alienating a lot of female listeners here.
How are we? You look at the symptoms.
Well, yeah, all right. But it could have been that there was.
They're all 12 to 17.
When they sent them home, they didn't find any additional illnesses. No trace of chemical residue was found in the buildings, although the initial group to fall ill may have been affected by the smell of low levels of hydrogen sulfide gas escaping from a latrine.
There we go.
But the bulk of the sufferers became ill because of psychological factors, namely stress and anxiety, which were likely caused or heightened by news reports suggesting a toxic gas was the culprit.
and the
swab
babies
gas.
were in.
I suppose if newspapers are starting to, your Palestinian newspapers are saying the Israelis are gassing us, and the
You
Israelis
fear
then
fact-
come on the
Yeah,
telly
yeah.
and say, we're not gassing you, it's the PLO, wasn't it? The Palestinian Liberation Organisation. Or the PLF, one of the two.
Well, everyone's going to be on a heightened fear alert, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Especially at them days as well.
Yeah. Havana Syndrome, have you heard of Havana
This has been in the news, hasn't it?
No.
No.
Havana Syndrome, recent one. Very recent. Since 2016, just after the US reopened its Havana embassy, hundreds of North American diplomats and CIA officers started complaining about headaches, brain fog, vertigo, and other debilitating symptoms. These complaints soon spread beyond Cuba to Russia, China, and Europe. Many have been diagnosed with concussion-like symptoms, but without the concussion, and the underlying cause triggers heated debate. Are the symptoms psychological or something more sinister? Well, yes, the answer is psychological. CIA ruled out the involvement of a hostile foreign power in all but about 24 of the 200 cases. But in its February 2022 summary, still reads like the plot of a thriller. Spy agencies experts believe Havana syndrome symptoms could plausibly be caused by a pulsed electromagnetic ray, but there's no proof as to who could have been wielding it. And the point is, no one's tried to make that kind of shit more than the Americans, so if they haven't got it, it's very unlikely anyone else has got it.
Well, some experts aren't even convinced a mystery on this even exists.
No, they're not. They think it is a mass hysteria. A lot of the evidence was debunked recently. What about puppy pregnancy syndrome?
Never heard of this before.
Yeah. It's a psychosomatic illness in humans brought on by mass hysteria. People believing, and we'll call it PPS, puppy pregnancy syndrome, believe that shortly after being bitten by a dog, puppies are conceived within their abdomen.
What?
The syndrome is thought to be localised in villages in several states of India, and some psychiatrists believe that PPS meets the criteria for a culture-bound disorder, but it is a mass hysteria. Witch doctors offer oral cures, which they claim will dissolve the puppies.
I bet they do.
What, suck their penises and...
Yeah.
This will cure your
Straight to
young man.
blowjobs with you, innit? If it's not a grey sucking you off, it's a witch doctor.
Swallow this.
Take this special medicine, child. Now close your eyes, open your mouth.
Why is it a child?
Purse it. I don't know.
You sick fuck.
What are you accusing this witch doctor of, Pete?
Paedophilia, obviously.
Well, I think he might claim different. Who knows?
Allegedly.
Anyway, they claim that'll dissolve the puppies. Doctors in India have tried to educate. How could you dissolve puppies? How horrible is that? I'd just give birth to them. Because they don't have puppies.
Yeah, but it's not real.
I know, but still, I was wondering what I
You want
wouldn't think of them.
Puppy coming out your
Poop
knob.
out a puppy.
Obviously, I'd shit it out.
Yeah, poop it out a puppy. Yeah, poop out a puppy.
Still. Ooh.
Now, doctors in India have tried to educate the public that this condition is impossible, and a
Clearly.
superstition, and that treating this condition instead of rabies can be dangerous.
Wow.
No, don't give me the rabies shot. I want a pregnancy test instead.
People suffering from PPS believe that shortly after bitten by the dog, puppies conceived in their abdomen, and this is to be especially likely if the dog is sexually excited at the time of the attack. Victims are said to bark like dogs and have reported being able to see the puppies inside them when looking at water or hear them growling in their abdomen. It is believed the victims will eventually die, especially men. Oh man, they do give birth to their puppies with the penis.
There you go.
Yeah.
What?
They believe that they're going to give birth to the puppies through the penis.
Be like a fucking puppy shotgun.
What was left of your dick after?
Not a lot.
I mean, you're not even going to get away with it if it's a fucking chihuahua, a sexually excited chihuahua that bites you. Imagine if it's a sexually excited Rottweiler.
Yeah,
Great Dane.
Or a Great
Oh
Dane.
my god!
Or an Irish Wolfhound.
couple of them rolling around in your belly.
Could be 4 or 5.
Oh, litter.
This is stupidity.
It is redonkulous, isn't it? It's that ridiculous. It's redonkulous.
Yep. Just goes to show the species was still stupid at times.
You can put that one down to superstition a little bit, can't you? But still, it is a form of mass hysteria. I mean, this is...
Yep.
That is hilarious.
I bet you have cases of it that rise and fall, don't you?
That is a hilarious superstition, though. Get bit by a dog. Oh, I'm going to have his puppies now. Through my penis. Quick, dissolve them. Let me suck a witch doctor's penis.
See, you coming to me now?
I wonder if I've been looking at them booklets. I saw them booklets at the end of the day saying,
How to be a witch
Jim,
doctor.
become a witch doctor.
How to be a witch doctor.
Anything to get out of Brexit Britain, eh, Mike? Can I welcome back to the show a long-time friend of the show, Spring-Hill Jack, everybody.
Hi, Jack.
My second favourite cryptid.
It's a phantom groper. He's
No,
a friend of mine.
That's why he's his favourite.
I don't know what it is. I just love Spring-Hill Jack.
We have covered this before in one
We
of
have,
our
so I'm not going to go too much
Halloween episodes, haven't we, in the past?
Out of the night, he came a leaping, bounding Superman who terrified the English nation for more than 60 years. At first, tales of this devil-like figure who leaped from rooftop to rooftop was accepted as hysterical nonsense. But in January 1838, this strange creature received official recognition when a barmaid, Polly Adams, was attacked while walking across Blackheath in South London. Mary Stevens, a servant girl, was terrified what she saw on Barnes Common, and in Clapham Churchyard a woman was assaulted. She was groped up. They groped them all. Lucy Scales, a butcher's daughter, was attacked in Limehouse, and Jane Alsop was almost strangled by a cloaked attacker in her own home before her family managed to beat off the attacker, at which point he leapt and soared off into the darkness. Jane Alsop described her inhuman attacker to London magistrates. To quote her, he was wearing a kind of helmet and a tight-fitting white costume, like an oilskin, and he vomited blue and white flames, he did.
What?
See, up until that bit, I was just thinking it's some geezer who was way before his times and was really good at free running and used it to his advantage and was a bit gropey and he could jump on roofs, jump down and grope a woman, jump back up, climb back up quite quickly, like these free runners do nowadays. Is it free running? That's the right word, isn't it?
I think you're looking at a bit of parkour going on
That's
as well.
the one, parkour. That's the other thing I was thinking.
First parkour.
Yeah. He was just ahead of his times. He was really good at parkour, bit of gropey. So he combined the two.
He's got a cool mask on though. He could technically have some kind of mask on.
Well, yeah, that's because when he does jump down and grope them, he doesn't want them to see his
Well,
face.
It would have been easier though not to have the false cloven hooves, though, wouldn't it?
That's true.
And the breathing fire.
Yeah, that could be a magic trick.
But no, that's just their almost using poetic license to try and make him sound scarier than he is. That's all that is.
True. The Lord Mayor of London, Sir John Cowan, received complaints from several parts of the city describing a demonic creature with eyes like balls of fire and hands like icy claws, and able to bound from rooftop to rooftop with ease.
What year was Sherlock Holmes starting?
So the 1880s, roughly, I think. 1880s, 1890s, something like that, Sherlock Holmes.
This was 50 years before.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was thinking, I knew it was 1800s that Sherlock Holmes came. I couldn't quite remember which part, and yeah, so a bit before the time of that then.
Well, he's a fictional character too, remember?
No, I was thinking because of some of the stories
Oh,
from Sherlock Holmes. I
yeah.
was wondering whether people are just, again...
Actually, should point that out, it's a commonly misheld apprehension that Sherlock Holmes is real.
It is, yeah.
But a lot of people still think he's real. Because there's you can go to his house on Baker Street, can't you?
Yeah, because Baker Street is a real street.
Yeah. It's a bit of a Mandela effect kind of thing, really.
I love this bit though. The police did not dismiss these stories, and even the Duke of Wellington,
Oh, the Iron Duke
aged
himself.
nearly 70, went out armed on horseback to hunt and kill the monster.
You know he fucking did that as well. Fucking Duke of Wellington. Ah, the
Awesome.
Iron Duke.
What a guy.
What a guy. He is pretty much the Lord Flashheart of his generation, effectively. Who was the mysterious fiend who roamed London attacking women? During the 1850s and 60s, Spring-Heeled Jack was seen all over England, particularly in the Midlands. The army, in 1870, set traps to catch him after scared sentries reported being terrified by a man who sprang onto the roof of their sentry box. Also in 1870, angry townsfolk in Lincoln are reported to have shot at him in the street, but he just laughed and bounded away, leaping over fences and small buildings. No one knows any idea who he was. No one's got a clue. They think it might have been the eccentric young Marquis of Waterford, but he apparently wasn't a vicious guy or considered wild. Even though he was considered wild and had been branded as the Mad Marquis. Last seen in 1904 at Everton in Liverpool, bounding up and down the streets, leaping from cobbles to rooftops and back. He vanishes in the darkness that day, when some brave souls want to corner him, and he's not been seen since that day to this. Spring-heeled for the fucking Jack. Said my second friend of the show.
Again, probably mass hysteria.
Yeah, you could bring it. Someone got a bit groped by a bloke in a mask who presumably did a bit of parkour, and before you know it, everybody's doing it.
Bit of a copycat as well, you know what I mean? People would dress up,
Some
easily
of them
get a
bit-
mask and dress up a bit. And
Yeah.
The leaping onto the top of the sentry box in front of on the soldiers must have been a feat.
But again, could just be
A bit steampunk. He's got springs on his shoes like Batman.
A bit of hearsay, bit of Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
Someone jumped up a 3-foot wall. The next person it was 4 foot. The next person it was 9 foot. You know what I mean? It's one of them. The big fish, the bigger fish story kind of thing.
Maybe. Right. Again, we have briefly gone through this one before, but it's not mass hysteria and it's great. The Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Sounds like me.
In September of 1944, the front pages of the Daily Illini, I say that's right, were covered with updates about the ongoing war. The newspaper regularly chronicled major developments in the war as well as the deaths of the young men who, just a few years short before, had once walked in the university's halls. Given the amount of bloodshed that was unfolding around the world, it is easy to miss the newspaper's coverage of one particularly strange event, one that came to be called the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. Mattoon, Illinois is a small town that lies, 18,000 people live in it.
It lies there. Yeah, 18,000 people live in it. I like that.
It's 49 miles south of Champaign.
Shit you don't need to know,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
The alleged bagel capital of the county. Also the site of a suspected case of mass hysteria. In September of 1944, people around town began reporting they would awake in the middle of the night to smell a strangely sweet smell blanketing their homes.
It was the baker making bread.
They would then become overcome with nausea, and some reported became paralysed for an hour after.
They were using rat bones crushed up for the flour.
1944. Well, maybe.
That's why I thought that. It's in France, isn't it, this?
No, it's
The
America.
US.
Oh, so America have stolen another European name, Champagne.
Yes.
So confusing.
After some of the victims claimed to see the figure of a man fleeing their yards at the time when the gas appeared, and rumours began to spread around town that a mysterious man was sneaking up to homes and pumping gas in through open windows. On September 12th, 1944, the Daily Illini reported that 33 people had smelled the mysterious gas in the span of 12 days, and later that day the Mattoon police chief, a man named C.E. Cole, released a shocking statement. According to the police's investigation, there was no man sneaking about town pumping homes full of gas. Instead, wind shifts at night had caused gas from a local war plant to pass through the open windows.
What's a war plant?
They'd be making synthetic fuel, there'd be chemicals being mixed for TNT, that kind of thing.
Which would explain chemicals making people a bit nauseous and things like that, I suppose.
They said it smelt sweet.
It could do, yeah. No reason why it wouldn't. The mix of chemicals, you can have some really vicious chemicals put together and they smell amazing. The pear drops, what is it? I'm sure
It's one of the
that smell like pear drops. One of the acids, isn't
it's
it?
it's one of the nerve agents. You smell pear drops, you put your mask on,
Yeah,
and freshly cut grass as well.
that's right.
The other two big ones. I can't remember which one pear drops is. It'll come to me. It'll blurt into my head at some point. Additionally, people believe that at least a few of the supposed attacks were likely to be the result of hysteria, with people being constantly terrified their homes would be hit by the mad gasser. As for the man that some victims reported seeing fleeing from their yards, police theorised it was likely a bystander who decided to investigate the homes of one here in the chaos that was erupting inside.
Cyanide smells like... I fucking just said it a second ago, but then it's...
Sarin, I'm sure it's... Is it sarin? Oh, crap.
Almond or something?
Anyway, they do smell sweet, you're right.
Yeah, they smell... Yeah.
So who
Smells
knows
like
what they were
almonds.
sniffing through the point. Right, last one. Back to the UK. The Hammersmith Phantom. The Hammersmith ghost had first been spotted in November 1803. This spectre wasn't content to merely floating around the West London neighbourhood. It was supposedly attacking people, with several claiming to have been physically grabbed in and around Hammersmith churchyard. Some thought it was the spirit of a man who had killed himself and whose spirit could not lie at rest. Descriptions of his appearance varied, but most stated that it was tall and wore white. So you got this thing spreading around these women. Oh, they've grabbed me in the streets. One woman was choked by him. Another man was grabbed and pushed against a wall. And it's this ghost. And all of a sudden, you've got this mass hysteria. You know, and then you end up with militias going out, armed with pistols and rifles, looking for it. Because they don't know what they're going to do because it's a ghost.
Proper pitchfork in it.
A proper pitchfork.
They were the real Ghostbusters.
But I don't know, they think their rifles and pistols are going to do it. It's a ghost. Sadly, there was a bricklayer out and about early one morning, and bricklayers used to wear white.
And he got shot up.
Yeah, he got shot in the head by some
Fuck
fucking
yeah.
guy.
Oh.
The judge, they actually sentenced him to a year of hard labour. He was let off for the murder charge. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? That?
So a lot of these do end with tragedy, don't they? In some cases.
That looks like a nice pub.
It's like it's idiots spurring on other idiots to do idiotic things.
Pretty much.
I think that's quite a good way of describing it. Oh, but you can always see like the giggling girls. That's kind of like, oh, look, we got to stay at school for 2 months.
Yeah.
So the next school hears about that because their cousin goes to a different school, and then it's like, oh, if we all start giggling, they'll let us have 2 months off.
That's definitely the kids doing it on purpose to get time off school, isn't it?
But I just think it's not just like we think hysteria, like, but it's like it is. Is that intentional? They look at it as that shared behaviour is a kind of hysteria, isn't it?
Well, it's like all of us staying in and locking ourselves into our houses for fucking months on end.
Allegedly.
But we didn't really need to, let's face it.
I guess you could say, yeah, that was perhaps a
In ways.
form
I
of
think you
mass
could say
hysteria.
It was a form. It wasn't full
And
mass hysteria, but there was certainly an element of it there.
I think my own personal opinion is. You know,
I'll tell you what.
I better say a fucking word.
I'll tell you
I'll
what.
say a fucking word.
I tell you what, a great example of it is the terrorism in the early
Yes.
2000s.
Very much.
Oh,
When the
yeah.
Americans had that alarms, like severe, highly severe, and all that.
As soon as
Every day,
yeah.
people were checking, seeing that there might be a fucking terrorist attack.
They'd have it. So,
How many was there
in American
after
Dad?
that? After 9/11, I don't think there was
You had
any.
the anthrax scare, didn't you? That was they never found. They never put that on anyone convincing, did they? Just
The only terrorist attacks from their own citizens gunning down school children. That's
yeah.
There has probably been a lot more deaths
yeah,
from
but
that.
they don't put an alarm. Yeah, they don't put an alarm for that, do they?
No,
That's a bit hard to predict, that, isn't it?
not really. One a week, basically.
Yeah, just have the alarm on highly severe every day, isn't it?
Yeah, because they did use literally. They would report it on Fox News. Oh, we've got up to Amber Alert on the terrorism warning today. And it's like, yeah, it's instilling fear, which then, of course, that's a reaction to have the hysteria. So you allow the government to take away your rights a little bit, allow you to be surveilled more.
That's it. The Patriots Act,
You're allowed to put more cameras up.
The police.
House Resolution 666, wasn't it?
That was, I don't know.
I believe it was the Patriots Act.
There was a bit of it that was, and that might have been the part that took away the rights, the certain rights, not all the rights, obviously. It's just different things, isn't it? You can argue the media creates us all into a mass
Of
hysteria.
course, they play us like a fucking
look at-
fiddle, mate. They know
Yeah,
how-
I mean the media nowadays. Like,
look at the small boats.
I was just going to say that the small boats. The last few weeks, the last few months, been dominated. The UK's been dominated by the news of small boats landing all the time. But it's still created a mass hysteria. These people were turning up here. It's an invasion.
No, it's not an invasion. It's a small few boats that come over now and again.
And we have
I
to-
agree, we should stop it, but it's hardly a mass invasion.
No, it's not an invasion, and it's the services that used to be there to accommodate and house these people and sort them hadn't been cut back massively over the last 12 years. Then this wouldn't be a problem.
I'm just
Because
about
then you see-
stopping it for humanitarian reasons.
you
A
can't
lot of
Too
people.
many people die
They
trying
die.
to make the journey because
Yeah.
it's so fucking treacherous.
Yep.
You
They
can't-
need to stop it happening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that once they do make that question, we can't turn them away immediately, can you?
No,
It's
no,
international law.
definitely
They have to be processed, sorted, and is it a genuine claim? But the facilities used to be there to house them, and now they aren't. They've all been sold off.
But there's been hundreds of deaths
Oh, of course there has.
this year already. Probably not a lot of them. Probably not even reported about.
Yeah.
Because they may not even be known about.
Before that, what did we have? We had the Prince Andrew stuff as well. That whipped the country up, didn't it?
Yeah.
That wasn't mass hysteria, though, was it?
That's a bad example. Let's use QAnon as a better one.
Yeah.
QAnon's
It's the best example.
that led to an actual stalling of the Senate, which
Yep.
you'd argue that was mass hysteria, the January 6th.
Of course it was. It's mass hysteria about an election that they believed had been stolen that wasn't.
No, I don't think it was.
Well, of course it wasn't. They've gone to court and they've lost in court.
They've lost multiple times.
Yeah. In
But
fact,
what if they're all in on it, Mike?
they only won one, yeah, and they had a recount,
Good point.
yeah, and Biden ended up winning more votes from the recount. That's it. That's the extent of their.
But it goes
claim.
to show then,
Yeah.
when they do count, they clearly can't fucking count them correctly. So they probably need to recount them 25 times by 25 different independent people. Then maybe take them.
Yeah, mistakes get made, don't they?
Average.
You're right.
Humans make mistakes, but at the same time, I don't trust voting machines.
I don't.
No.
I don't trust the machine to do it.
They can get hacked.
Be tampered with.
Yeah, but how do we even know? Once you've put your vote in that little box with a piece of paper, yeah, how do you know that actually gets fucking counted? Because someone might...
That's it, there might be somebody dodgy in there that's...
They already know who's going to win. They're like, ah, right, so there's 10,000 people voting in this area, so 9,000 of these votes will go to this party, 400 will go to that, 300 will go to that, and 170
Well, no, I think it comes from more like the individual counters. They're like a Tory, and they're like... Oh, I won't count. I'll put a load of Labour votes in the votes that don't count.
You can never discount the political allegiance of the person counting the vote. That's what you got to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there was something with the Scottish, branching off slightly, the Scottish independence referendum. There was a lot of there was some evidence to suggest that there was some deliberate miscounting going on in that.
Nicola Sturgeon was personally counting them, going, right, this one says I want to stay. She can fuck off. Right, oh, that one too.
Yeah, but they lost. So they were putting them into the stay pile rather than the leave pile.
No, they were throwing away the stay ones to try and make more leave ones, wasn't she?
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
She would have been, but they didn't matter because they said they'd stay.
But still, even with the chance of that, give me paper ballots every day.
With the internet, especially nowadays, it's Facebook, for example. Facebook causes mass hysteria all the time.
So.
Someone's hanging around my street at night. They've got a van. They're probably stealing dogs.
Yeah.
Something like that. Look at these signs on your fence. If someone's put a chalk mark somewhere on your pavement, it's not the people going to go and dig the fucking pavement up. No, they're dog stealers. They're going around stealing dogs. Keep your dogs in.
There's a circle with a cross in it. Does that mean my house is a target now?
Exactly.
No, it means the electrician's going to
people have never been bloody stupider, let's face it, at times. We're more susceptible to this now. That's the problem. We're more susceptible to this kind of mass hysteria now because we have things constantly bombarding us. Yeah. Before, this was localised. Look at the floating castles in the sky. Do you remember that?
No.
I do, yeah. It wasn't just castles, it was
different
cities
things.
and things.
Cities, castles. People were saying they were seeing these things and they were recording them, but it's...
You can see them.
You can see them, but that could be pareidolia. They're suggesting that we see it. Their mass hysteria spreads to us. If they're saying this is a castle in the sky, our brain has gone, that's a castle in the sky. And it could just be a really vague cloud shape. Remember, there's a lot of information goes through our eyes and our brain. Things get mixed up. We see things as they're more likely to be.
Yeah, there's an explanation, isn't there? Like the ships that you can see in the sky. It's something called Fata Morgana, isn't it?
It's Hook. Like that's Hook, obviously. The ships you see in the sky is Hook.
All those ships that have Vox Machina, they fly.
Yeah.
What about, the dancing one's weird, the physical ones are more weird, the dancing one's weird. Because the people are literally dropping dead. There was an episode, and that's not a random thing, the dancing ones, they've had several outbreaks of that, especially around Germany in the puritanical areas. One group surrounded a priest who came out and he cursed them all because they had danced around him.
Well, there was this one where a guy started running.
That's Forrest Gump.
Oh.
Where's the shagging plague? That's what I want to know.
That's one in the 60s. The hippie movement.
Yeah.
That was a mass hysteria. The entire hippie movement was a mass hysteria. Every movement's probably is effectively a mass hysteria. Following a football team and going to the ground and standing and screaming for 90 minutes is all part of mass hysteria. You're swept up into the moment, aren't you?
We love it.
We love it. We do. We thrive on it.
I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think we'll continue to have them.
Absolutely. Right, so let's say thank you for listening. I've been Ben. Don't join the Flavour Aid. Don't join a cult.
I've been Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.
I've been Claire. Keep an open mind, but not so open that it spills out your ears.
And I've been Pete. Enjoy your week. Arrivederci.
And if you do live in the Dory area, you
Oh,
come
fuck
with me. You know,
Shut up.
May the 4th.
That's getting fucking cut.